The second round of the NBA playoffs starts on Saturday with a Western Conference showdown, and there still is one more first-round series to wrap up as we have a Game 7 on Sunday. So let's talk about the NBA playoffs with one of my favorite people to talk to about the association. You see her as an analyst on Brother from Another on Peacock. She's also one half of the Golden Spaces podcast, also contributor to Hoopstresses. Natalie Esquire joins me now. Nat, what's going on?
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Thank you for having me.
I'm doing good. It's playoff basketball time, Nat. You know I love that. So we're going to get this started. And how we're going to start this is we're going to start by wrapping up the first round. On Sunday afternoon, we will have Game 7 between the Cavaliers and the Magic. Yes, that series is still going on. The home team has won every game in this series. Who do you like here, Nat, to take Game 7 and why?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Cavs, really. I mean, I'm sorry, but this series has been very uninteresting to me. So, and then on top of it, a lot of their games are always sandwiched in between two other games. So it's hard to dial into it fully because you're competing with another game and you're often more invested in the other game that's on. But I wouldn't really be surprised if the Magic won. So I'm totally hedging. I don't have like a definitive feeling about this. I would probably say Donovan Mitchell is the best player in this series. Obviously, he just had like a 50-point game, but they still, lost. So I'm going to pick the Cavaliers at home in a nail biter. I think it comes down to the end, but I wouldn't be surprised if Orlando won. I think they're capable of doing it. All of those games have been super close. Well, not all of them. Let me take that back. But the last couple were really close, and I think they could pull it out. But I'm going to go with the Cavs. But that is going to require Garland to kind of step up. He has not been playing his best during this series.
Yeah, I want to let the people know that Natalie's struggling there to come up with an answer. It's nothing about Natalie. I understand why she's struggling. Before the playoffs started, I had my friend Gerard Hector on here to talk about this series, and we said what it was. It was the NBA TV series. We knew what it was. I understand. I understand why it hasn't been that interesting.
NBA TV got to catch strays like that, though. I mean...
That series is catching strays. That's all I'm saying. It's not about NBA TV. It's about the series. That's all I'm saying. We all know what the series is. That's all I'm saying.
But it's also a 4-5 matchup, and traditionally, the 4-5 matchup, that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be close. Two teams that are pretty even. So it's a pick'em.
It's a pick'em. We just wish it was a little more interesting. And I understand where you're coming from on that. Okay, let's move on to the second round. Because on Saturday, the second round officially begins with the Timberwolves versus the Nuggets. Now, the T-Wolves, they swept the Suns, and the Nuggets, they disposed of the Lakers in 5 games in the first round. Last postseason, we heard former Nugget Bruce Brown say that their first round series with the Wolves was the toughest series that they played in the postseason. Can Minnesota give Denver a run for their money and actually win this series, Nat?
Absolutely, they can give them a run for their money. Also, the Nuggets did, quote unquote, dispose of the Lakers in 5, but that was a hard 5. That's why it's really important, and I know you do and I do, but it's really important to watch games. History won't tell that on the books. It's just going to say it was a gentleman's sweep, but that was a really hard series for the Nuggets. All of those games were close. By my estimation, that series should have at least gone to 6 games, and the Lakers should have had a better chance in that series. They just, they made some really crucial mistakes. You don't let Jamal Murray go one-on-one at the end. He hurt them twice with a buzzer beater and then a game winner. So, the Lakers could have won, though, so that was a much closer series than it appeared. And I would say the fact that they weren't able to handle the Lakers that easily, even though it was a 5-game series, is an indicator, or is an indication rather, of what's to come. So would I still favor Denver in this series? Yes, but I wouldn't favor them by a lot. I think it's going to probably be a 7-game series. I think that it will be a very hard series for them. And yeah, the Timberwolves was their hardest series last year. If you were watching, even though that was a 5-game series, it was hard. And that was with the Wolves missing some very crucial players on their team. So I expect it to be a tough series. Anthony Edwards is making a name for himself in these playoffs. Carl Anthony Towns did come back and he's playing very well. And this Timberwolves team, they are just demonstrating something that I was curious to see if that they could do, but it was just making smarter choices during the game. At the end of the game and late game execution, you can see Anthony Edwards' growth right before us. So it's going to be a very good series, and they could win. They could win. I'm going to say it's Denver, but they could win.
All right, and you'd like this to possibly go 7. I like that. I think we would be in for a treat if we see that series go 7. It would be a really good one. So stay tuned for that. That starts tonight with the second round, and you can tell Natalie's actually really interested. She does not find this series uninteresting. I could just see the energy shift. I just thought it was a little different, Nat. That's all. Let's talk about this one that's local for the viewers here. The New York Knicks, Indiana Pacers, they're going to renew their postseason rivalry. They will face off in the second round. What will you be keeping your eyes on in this series of two teams with contrasting styles, and who do you think comes out on top in this one?
This is a tricky series. I know a lot of Knicks and Pacers fans have been talking about the renewed rivalry or the rivalry's back. I don't know. I don't have that energy yet. Like those old rivalries were amazing. And so they have to give us that, right? Like I never even really felt that throughout the season when these two teams played. So I hope it lives up to that. I hope we get those kinds of games because I wanted the last series to go 7. You know, the Knicks, you know, they've lost some bodies. They're going to still be without Julius Randle. So, you know, but it doesn't seem to bother them. I don't know. Josh Hart is like the Energizer Bunny, right? Like this team just keeps going and going and going. They play all these minutes and they do not seem to be impacted by that. So I think this is also a long series. And I think it's the Knicks who will win it. 6 or 7. I don't know that it's going the full distance, but I would lean Knicks to win this series. But the Pacers create a much different offensive challenge, you know, in this series than the Knicks had versus the Sixers. They can score and they have multiple scorers, and they also added Pascal Siakam to the team earlier in the year. And so they have some length, they have some challenges that's going to be presented for them. And like, you know, you have Miles Turner, he can hit threes. You know, Hallie can hit them, even though he's been struggling with his shot a little bit. So it's just going to be really interesting to see. It's like this really great offense versus a team that has really, really good defense, and they are just relentless. That is the best way I can, describe the Knicks. They are such a relentless team. They never get up. That's how they kind of stole that Game 2 win versus the Sixers in the last series. So it's going to be very good.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one, and I think the contrasting styles make it a very interesting one. I was a little nervous when you sighed at the beginning because I thought you might say that you found this series to be uninteresting, but that is not the case. We know you find this one to be interesting for sure.
I wanted it to go 7.
Yeah.
7 is what we needed.
7 is what we need. The Knicks fans are probably like, no, we didn't need that. We didn't need to see it go 7 against the Sixers. They did not want to be stressing that. They didn't want that stress. You know that. But let's do this. Let's go back out west because the other semifinal matchup that actually won't get started until Tuesday is the Mavericks versus the Thunder. Now, we know Oklahoma City is the youngest #1 seed in NBA history, and they now face a Mavericks team which has stars in Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, who have the experience of making deep playoff runs. How much do you think experience will matter in this matchup, and which team has the overall edge here in the series?
I don't know. And I'm saying I don't know to who has the edge because you know, when I was here with you last time and we spoke, I told you that Oklahoma City is a very poised team, even though they're a young team. A lot has been made about how the young teams sort of have dominated so far, right? Oklahoma City, Minnesota Timberwolves and their series. I think the Minnesota Timberwolves, their first round win was a little bit more impressive. And it's not because the Suns, I think, were particularly that good, but it's because you still had Kevin Durant on the other side, right? You had Devin Booker. Those are two really, really, really good players. Whereas with Oklahoma City, they were playing the Pelicans, who lost Zion during that matchup. Brandon Ingram was coming off injury, didn't have his best series, so that was a series that Oklahoma City should have won and handled in 4 games, and they did. So I just don't know that they were tested that much in that first round. That will not be the case with the Mavericks. The Mavericks will definitely test Oklahoma City. I do think Luka is the best player in the series, but I don't think it's by like a tremendous amount. I think him and Shea are the same class of player, or, Luka has a slight edge. So I don't think that they have like a substantial advantage there. The Mavericks have been playing excellent defense. I wanted to see if what they were doing at the end of the season would hold up, and it did. And I told you when I was here last time, the Mavs could be a sneaky team to watch as a team that might challenge Denver, like in a potential Western Conference Finals matchup. So I don't know. I mean, the Wolves have home court, so I'm gonna go with the Wolves maybe in 7 because they have home court. But to me, this is a pick 'em. And I do think Dallas, will have the ability to win on the road. So I think they can do it. I think they have the possibility to pull off the upset. This matchup it's hard to say. I think it's going to be a very long series.
Yeah. Oh, and I just want to correct. I know you said Wolves, but I knew you meant Thunder. But we're talking about all these series, so they all get jumbled. They all jumbled up. But yes, Thunder in 7. That's the
Thunder.
pick. Thunder
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, it's
Thank
fine.
you for correcting me.
No, it's fine. I knew what you meant. And I think the viewers would know what you meant because you were talking about Shea and everybody else there. So Thunder in 7. Could see this being a long series. So you have 2 long series out west. I think that makes things very interesting for this second round. Obviously, we won't know the last second-round matchup till Game 7 is decided, and we'll see who gets to play Boston in the East. Last thing I wanted to talk to you about, Nat, is on the coaching front. Because on Friday, news broke that the Lakers, they fired head coach Darvin Ham. We saw the Lake show. They made it to the Western Conference Finals last year. This year, we talked about it before. They were bounced by the Nuggets in the first round. Does moving on from Ham solve the Lakers' issues? And second part of my question is, who should be the next head coach of the Purple and Gold?
Well, it doesn't seem like it's going to be Tyronn Lue as the next head coach, right? Because news came out that the Clippers are looking to extend him. So I don't know if he'll want to switch teams. I think any coach that goes to the Lakers is, I don't know if death sentence is too extreme of a word, but I think it's going to be very hard for any coach to make it there. So other reports have been J.J. Redick. And there's probably some other coaches, but I'm just talking about some of the most notable names that have been mentioned. You also have Mike Budenholzer, potentially. I definitely don't think he is the right coach for the Lakers, though, even with his resume. I think Mike is better for a team that's, an up-and-coming team. But I don't necessarily think he's the best coach in terms of like, okay, now this team is established. Let's carry you to the promised land. We saw that, when he was the coach of the Hawks. And even though he did win a championship with Milwaukee, he was very, very close to not being the head coach if Kevin Durant doesn't have his toe on the line, as everyone likes to refer to. So I don't think he's the right coach. J.J. Redick is interesting. He doesn't have a lot of coaching experience, but he's respected and revered as a really high basketball mind and IQ. And we know that him and LeBron James have a podcast together. So it's not shocking to me that J.J. Redick is one of the potential candidates. And I could really see him being co-signed and endorsed by LeBron, though I imagine LeBron will suggest he's hands off here. But I think J.J. Redick is probably the main name to watch. And as far as Darvin Ham, I don't, is it fair that he got terminated when you think of the Lakers' success? I'm going to say success, if you will, because I have people citing things like the in-season tournament. And for the Lakers, like, come on, like they didn't even initially want to hang that banner in their arena. And I'm sure the NBA had to talk to them about that. So this is a team where it's expected that they win championships. Championships is what they do. And even though they won the bubble championship. And I say that because we know on NBA Twitter and just in general, people always call it the bubble championship. And so even though it's a championship and it's legitimate and it counts, it doesn't always seem to be treated the same, right, as the others. So, and that's not his fault. He wasn't even the coach at that time, but those are just the expectations of the Lakers. Those are their expectations. And so, he got to the Western Conference Finals. It's unfortunate that they met Denver in the first round this year. They just were the better team. But, this business, the NBA, they don't care about that. So that's where we are. So I hope that it doesn't prevent Darvin Ham from getting another job. I don't know if he's gotten a fair rep, but that is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. We'll see what the Lakers do moving forward. I feel like they have a lot of other issues to address with their roster besides just the head coach. But we'll see how it all plays out. That is Natalie Esquire. As I said, check her out on Brother from Another on Peacock. Also, one half of the Golden Spaces podcast. Go check that out. One of the best voices in the NBA. Natalie, I'm so glad that you are excited, interested about the second round. We'll talk again as these NBA playoffs roll on. Thank you so much.
Thank you.